Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something I think we all grapple with, the assumptions we make about people.
Yeah, those quick judgments.
Exactly. We've got a really interesting personal story from a listener, the definition of a simple word, gloss, and a pretty sharp quote to help us kind of unpack it all.
Sounds good. It's all about perception versus reality, isn't it? How we see others, how they see us.
Precisely. Our, let's say, mission today is to explore these different pieces and see what they tell us about, well, about perception.
Looking forward to it. These listener stories often hit home.
Okay, so let's start with that word,
Yep.
gloss. Now, we often think of it as like a shine or something superficial.
Like lip gloss.
Right. But as a verb, it means to explain or define something, often, quickly, maybe simplifying it.
Okay, like glossing over the detail.
Exactly. And it struck me how often we do that with people. We sort of gloss them based on a first look without really digging any deeper.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like a mental shortcut, right? Our brains try to be efficient.
Totally. But it can lead us off track. Which brings us to our listener's story.
Okay.
They shared this experience of often being seen as, quote, a nice guy who doesn't swear.
A specific label.
Yeah. And they noticed people, especially like at work, kind of changing their own behavior around them because of this assumption, like walking on eggshells a bit.
Oh, interesting. So the perception actually changed how people interacted.
Yeah. But what's really insightful is why the listener says they're helpful. They made it clear it's not about being a pushover or, afraid to say no.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's coming from a place of genuine care, like wanting to actually ease someone else's burden, which, immediately makes that simple nice guy label feel a bit flat.
Right, it adds depth, it challenges the easy assumption, so it's not about seeking approval necessarily.
Exactly. They did mention sometimes feeling a bit underappreciated, which, you can understand.
Sure, if your motives are misunderstood.
But they said they learned to focus more on the, internal reward. Just knowing they helped someone. The act itself was the point.
That's key, isn't it? The idea of a secondary reward. The listener mentioned this, right?
Yeah, they did.
So the main thing, the primary reward, is that good feeling you get from helping out. Any external validation like praise or thanks, that's just extra. It's nice, but not essential.
Which really pushes back against the idea that, everyone's always just looking out for number one or fishing for compliments.
It does. It suggests motivations can be much more complex, more internal.
And this kind of connects to an image they sent too. It was depicting someone who looks confident on the outside, but inside, their social battery is totally drained.
Oh, I think many of us can relate to that. That gap between the public face and the private feeling.
Totally relatable. We all kind of manage how we present ourselves, don't we? And what people see might be miles away from what's actually going on inside.
And that disconnect, that friction between the surface and the reality, that's where this Gloria Steinem quote seems to fit perfectly.
Right. The quote, what was it again?
The truth will set you free, but first, it will piss you off.
Yeah, that's a memorable one.
Yeah.
So how does that connect here?
Well, think about the listener's story. The truth could be the real reasons they're helpful, or just the messy reality of who they are beyond that simple nice guy gloss.
Okay.
And when that truth bumps up against the assumptions people make, when your genuine self isn't really seen, that initial reaction can definitely be frustration, annoyance. That's the pissed off part, maybe.
I see. So the discomfort comes from being misunderstood, from that label not fitting.
Exactly. Or even confronting assumptions we make about ourselves. But the second part of the quote is key too. It will set you free.
Right. The liberation part.
Understanding those deeper truths about why we do things or acknowledging the complexity in others, it might be uncomfortable at first, but ultimately it frees us from those limiting superficial boxes.
It allows for something more authentic.
Yeah, I think so. More authentic connections, a better understanding of ourselves and the people around us. It forces us to look past the easy answers.
So thinking about our listeners, what are the main things to maybe take away from this little deep dive?
Well, first, I'd say maybe challenge yourself not to take people just at face value. Remember, motivations are often, complicated, hidden even.
Good point. And second,
remember that gap we talked about? How someone seems on the outside might not match their internal world at all? We all have that to some extent.
Definitely. And finally,
just that facing these assumptions head on, whether they're assumptions you make about others or ones they make about you, it can be, awkward, uncomfortable. Like Steinem said, it might piss you off initially.
But there's value in pushing through that discomfort.
Absolutely. That's where the real understanding, the freedom, comes from.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about a time you felt really misunderstood, where the way people saw you, the assumptions they made, felt completely different from your own experience, your own reasons.
That disconnect.
Yeah. What could you actually learn from exploring that gap, that difference between their perception and your reality?
That's a great question to sit with. Often, the most interesting insights are hiding right there, in that uncomfortable space.